Okay, so this project involved integrating OpenIMIS and MyFOS through through what you call OpenHIM. And I've seen when I was setting up my server, I could see one of our colleagues in the development also has done almost similar project. So this project also involved converting a complete Fire 4 resource like patient into a flattened JSON representation of the client. And therefore, when we receive the mediator, the data, we convert it into a JSON format that is compatible with MyFOS. Our workflow was guided by the integration requirements when we started this project. Where the expectation is that we should be able to connect MyFOS, Moduloop, OpenIMIS, and the other subsystems through OpenHIM. And therefore, as modern technology, MTCC, our responsibility was to create OpenHIM mediators that were used to interconnect MyFOS and OpenHIM. MyFOS and OpenIMIS through OpenHIM, whereas the 2MCOP are expected to develop adapters, which according to the discussion today, seems they are still being a challenge because of deploying the what you call the Kubernetes on the sandbox. But at least on our side, we have been able to achieve the integration between the MyFOS and the OpenHIM and the OpenIMIS through the OpenHIM. So I don't want to go to this diagram because it's a common diagram provided by OpenHIM on Gembi. So what happens is that any end system is connected to an upstream server using OpenHIM core, and for you to add functionalities, you have to create mediators. And in our responsibility, we were to write Python mediators that were used to convert the Fire 4 resources received from OpenIMIS into compatible formats that can be stored on MyFOS. This is also a complete diagram of the APIs that have been developed particularly to deal with the open layer. And the idea was to interact with payment and bills, what we call the invoice and billing, so that any client who does the payment, that payment can be propagated and be either reflected on MyFOS or on Moduloop. So the last slide is just a representation of some sort of the mediators that we have developed. And therefore, to save on time, because I'll be sharing these slides, I've shown how we have been able to integrate the payment systems from payment node. The expectation is to register these mediators. You can hear me?
Yes, you're still there.
Yes.
Okay, good. Because it's all warning me as if it is dropping. But let me share what we have done in terms of mediators. I hope my sharing is on.
Sharing is on, and we can still hear you as well.
Good. So you can see the OpenHIM?
Yes, it's a browser monitoring interface.
Good. So so far, these are the mediators that we have registered. We have the mediator for the group, mediator for the invoice, organization, and patient. These are the transactions that I've been working on. As you can see, up to the last minute when my server went down, I was trying to run some few mediators. Some of them would go through, especially the invoice sometimes is an issue. But behind this interface, let me go to, I don't want to open that, but I don't know whether you can see my insomnia.
Yes, we are seeing a patient resource.
Can you see a black screen?
Black screen with Jason on the right side.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted to confirm, that it's there. So maybe I can start quick with what you call the gets and the posts. So I've divided my workflow in a way that, for example, if you want to get the patients, this is the local connection to clients. So I have to use this the local port for OpenHIM. So if I send these requests, for example, let me send this request to get the patients. If all goes well, the patient's payload is displayed. And if I want to confirm that that is the case, I can go to the console, check on the transaction. This is the latest transaction of 1903. You can confirm. Then if I want to get the groups, this is the endpoint for the group on the mediator. So if I send this, I should be able to get all the families or groups that are registered with openIMIS with the data and details. And if I go to the transaction, I should be able to see that transaction as well, which has just happened. And if you want to get details of the response, we have enabled the storing of the response just to share here, but on openIMIS you can as well configure such that you don't share this, or somebody may not necessarily have to see the response. You can also see the response body, the response headers. The other thing that we have configured is access to hospitals, or what you call organizations. Over, you're there?
Yes, we can still hear you, and we can also still see the screen.
Yeah, so these are organizations that have been registered. As you can see, I'm accessing this. You can see in a quick view the kind of organizations that are registered with openIMIS. For example, I don't know which name this name, but mostly the Alapta District Hospital and the likes. And if you go to the transaction log, you should be able to see that mediator has actually responded, given us the payload as expected. So these organizations, if you'd want to see these organizations and everything via openIMIS, via MyForce itself, you can just use the OpenIMIS. They are going directly to the sandbox. So this is the endpoint for the sandbox. So if you want to see the clients who have been registered on openIMIS sandbox, I just send this request, and I should be able to see that in our sandbox we have 8 clients, 8 records, and these are the clients that have been registered already. Yeah, 8.
Recording has stopped.
Then if I want to post a new patient or a new client, I just go to the post mediators. Let me post a new client. Let me try to post. I have this. This is the Fire4 resource for a patient. As you can see, the most important thing is the UID, which we mostly save as external ID because MyForce has its own internal IDs, auto-generated IDs. So if I try to post this resource again, let me try to post it. You can see this ID already exists because external IDs should also be unique. So I can just tweak a little bit this to give it an external ID. I may need also to maybe to tweak this because in some cases it's supposed to be unique. I can register a new person here called Mu. It's just a fictitious person. So this is a Fire4 resource, and there are some workflows and transformation functions and that have been developed in Python to handle the nested loop so that it picks on what is just required by MyForce. So that's the new resource that I want to register. So I've registered this new client and he has been given the client ID 25 and the resource ID is that. If I want to know for sure whether this client has been registered, I can just run this and I should be able to see that no, so not that one. So I should get the one for the my. There are 9, as you can see now. The records are more, and the last client that we have registered and automatically is Magana Kumi Mutune, and the display name is Magana that. So that proves that you can interact. The interaction is complete between the openIMIS and MyForce. The next thing that I would want to maybe, and the rest follows the same. If I want to register a new group, I just follow the same. I just provide the payload, the Fire4 payload, and I register a group. And for example, this is that a group called Lio, because this payload has the group name called Leo or Lio already exists, so I cannot register that group. If I try to register another organization, it cannot register that organization because the external ID is unique. So the last bit of the transactions, and all these transactions definitely are being logged on, as you can see, they are being logged on openIMIS, where the last transaction is 1910, which is this, which says that yeah, it was true, it was successful, but the client will form a duplicate ID, which is a constraint in MyForce. So the last bit of our implementation was on transactions. For you to perform transactions from openIMIS or on MyForce, there are basic requirements. Number one, you must first of all create a group, maybe what you call MyForce group account or individual account. So in this case, we created a group and individual account, which exists here, as you can see. I hope I'm not talking to myself. Am I still audible?
You're still there. Continue. But
Okay.
we have to start looking at time a bit. So
Yeah,
you
sure,
might
sure,
want
sure.
to.
So if you create an account, there is the URL for creating the account. But you have first of all to know whether you are creating for a group or a client. So in this case, I have a client 19. If you go to MyForce to check on the clients available, it's possible to get a client number 19. Let me see MyForce whether we have client number 19 with ID 19. Yeah, so the client with the ID 19 is this one. Is this one called Magana Mukuri, something like that. So in that case, then I register that client. I create an account for that client, which is this, dated on this date. Then I give that client external ID as a unique ID for that client, because I would want to connect the client within the MyForce with the UID that was received from OpenIMIS. Then we create a savings account. We have created that saving account. For the account to be operational, it has to be activated. I activated this account. If I try to activate it again, to approve it again, it returns the metadata that showing that the account is already active. If I want to activate, it's already active. If I want to make a deposit for this account, I have to give what you call the headers, and the headers include not the headers, sorry, the command string, or what you call the query string, is deposit, and I'm depositing to account number 3 for that particular client, because the account IDs are the unique ID. So here I want to deposit for this client 100,000 or something like that. If I try to deposit now, let me see whether there is any payment type. You need to specify the payment type is a constraint. It can be electronic or mobile based payment, and therefore we created that using payment creation payload. So if I try to deposit that, it deposits, and if I try to check on the client savings, I check on this ID number 3 client saving, we should be able to see that the total deposits has increased. If I try to deposit again, if I try to deposit maybe another maybe just a small amount of money, like 8,000, and I send that and try to check on the client transactions, I should be able to see the value has increased to 150,000, 8,000. That, so the 8,000 that has been deposited has been reflected. If I try to make a withdrawal, I can withdraw like 67,000 or 67,000. The query string for withdraw is command withdraw, and if I try to make that, it should be able to register the transaction. And if I go to check on the client accounts, I should be able to and the account is insurance premium savings. That's the product name, is saving for insurance premium. And as you can see, the withdrawals have changed to 70,500. If I make another withdrawal of just 100, and I send, and I check on the transactions, I should be able to see whether the 100 has been reflected. Yes, so the previous workload did not reflect that. And other costs of transactions and account maintenance have been reflected. So Uwe, that's the workflow, and as I mentioned, there are some challenges here and there with the invoice, but definitely the transaction works seamlessly. One of the problems has been getting the payload directly from openIMIS. So at some point, I have to use what you call uh, directly synthesize data. But in most cases, if I receive an invoice of this type of a resource, then I have to check the mediator goes checking on these values and extracts the value of the invoice. And the other thing is that we have to know the currency representation, and then from there we have to extract that data and post it into the openIMIS. Not to openIMIS, to the MyFOS. So that is the complete workflow of openIMIS to MyFOS through OpenHIM. Over to you, Uwe.